Welcome to week 6 of ALC314. This week we're going to talk about smart technology, smart advertising, online and mobile culture. It's interesting that we're calling it smart. It just means that the use of information is for maybe making advertising much more targeted. But to get us there, we have to go through some history and some background. So I want us to think a little bit to start with, a little bit about the emerging size of the online industry. As you can see in this slide, it sort of says that it all started in about 1994, and people have different moments where they're aware of the World Wide Web, but roughly that ability to make graphically enriched environments started about 1993 and 1994, and it wasn't much after that advertising was quickly part of that online scene. And that was the era of the banner ads, things stuck at the top of websites, pretty ugly. I'm not going to show them right now. But one of the things that's happened since 1994 is advertising, which was seen as one of the great saviors of the economy in 1999 and probably even after the global financial crisis of 2008, is that it was seen as growing massively. So whether in the 1990s, the emergence of Amazon.com, or in the 2000s, the expansion of eBay, there was something about what was occurring online which created a different feel for the way that products moved to consumers. And what it implied, clearly, was also a different relationship between advertisers, meaning the manufacturers, remember our tripartite of advertising, and the consumers themselves, maybe a more direct relationship. So, as I said, global internet ad revenues by 2014 had grown to over $100 billion from a pretty small origin, only 15 or 18 years earlier. Of that, social media had $11.87 billion in ad revenues. Now, some things change when you move into a new media form. And to understand the advertising industry in that new media form, you kind of have to use slightly different terms. Everything online is a bit like everyone's a publisher. Now, they might be moving images, they might be text, they might be still images, or a combination thereof. But the reality is, every online site is pretty similar to a newspaper or a magazine. And so, to understand online advertising, we talk about all websites as publishers. And therefore, every website is potentially a site where advertising can occur. And if you've ever started a blog, the number of times you're asked whether you want to monetize your followers or whoever's involved in it, you'll understand that even the simplest blog is seen as a potential for advertisers. And Google and others who control things like Blogspot or Blogger try to get you involved in that. So even at the most tiniest level, publishers are out there, advertisers are circling. Advertising networks is the second term that you kind of have to get used to. And this is more or less what Google probably already does. It networks the relationship between anyone who wants to make a presence online and the publishers out there. And now the third one, which used to be quite large in the traditional advertising industry, the agency who do the creative design of advertising, is actually a little bit smaller. And part of the reason why that is that we've moved much more to an informational structure in advertising online. All right. Now these, I'm not going to go through all these terms, but you can see on this list, and I'll put it in the keywords later, and you don't have to panic too much about that. But we have all sorts of new terms that would make no sense in terms of advertising in a television or radio perspective. Cost per clicks. That means, an advertiser might pay for the number of clicks are there, but it was abused a lot over the first decade or so of online advertising, because people would just hire people to click on ads and thereby up the costs or the dollar value or what could be made from them. One of the key ones was developed by Google and other search engines, and it's called AdWords. And this is you kind of auction at words, and in those words, you develop what the search engines sort of do is page rank, what comes up in there, so that you pay for your place in that rank by the words that you choose. Now, what's interesting about that is it's not too intrusive, and it's a different style of ads. It's actually pretty informational, and this is one of the tendencies of online advertising. Is it pushes us a little bit closer to informational advertising, a bit like classified ads, and a little bit further away from the creative style of ads that are on television. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but one of the techniques is that we're in a different state of mind. I want you to think about that this week. What different state of mind are we in when we're online? And that different state of mind is, and you'll see some statistics about that, is that we are less comfortable when we're in an online setting or even a mobile setting to have interruptive advertising, which sounds vaguely sexual, but we'll leave that aside. But interruptive advertising is when a television program is interrupted by an ad, and we're moderately comfortable with that structure, but online we don't like it. We want to be given permission, we want to click on it. So search engines are one of the key economic forces in new media, and there are many more web-based media than previous media styles. Like I said, the number of websites is unbelievable, so we have a totally different market. And what's happening is something that the Spurgeon reading refers to as disintermediation. And there are basically different relations that are almost like the 19th century of how buyers and sellers interact. And it eliminates all the intermediaries. A really interesting sort of thing. And also, because of its informational quality, it may not need as much activity as we would think of in terms of advertising itself, but shifts what people do. And the type of ads, here's a kind of list, and this is coming from the Taylor reading. There are text or link ads that you see where you click, or you basically search for something, you get a link, you press on the link, you go where that is. There are display ads, which are on the sides and on banners of different websites, and these are often a problem for advertisers, I guess, because it can be blocked fairly easily. There's rich media ads, which is more or less the style of the YouTube one, which is that it overlays anything that you're looking at. The key thing with each of those is that the content of the ad has to be so close to the content of what the person is clicking on to work effectively at all. And again, it's that permission sort of thing. You may notice in YouTube ads that you actually can get out of that ad relatively quickly, 15 seconds till you drop the ad. And what's amazing is how many people hold on and watch the whole ad, partly because it's kind of related to what they're looking at. Sponsorship is another one that we've seen in other media. Advertorials is kind of the way that blogs and vloggers flog products, and it's probably one of the most successful things online. Online directories are kind of like searching for a restaurant online. So there may be directories that help you decide where you should go, and they rank things, or they get other consumers involved in it. And search advertising we've sort of talked about as well. It's very much connected to text and link ads. And mobile ads, well, I find them the most annoying of all, but you can take a look at them as well. You reveal the tiniest bit of information, and that same company will start pushing text ads at you. Okay, so one of the things to think about is that there's something different in the online environment, and this comes from my reading that's in your group of 3 readings this week. What we have is what I call the intercommunication industry, operating as both a form of media company and a form of moderating communication. So Facebook is a kind of moderating of communication, but it provides a channel for all sorts of media. The interesting thing with it is that all this content is individualized. It has all sorts of gatekeeping going on, but it's also interpersonalized, which means it has all sorts of individual networks of people that are attached to it. It has hyperlinked indexical relationship to communication, always drawing you further on by slight bits of interest to keep going with something. And it produces a kind of persona that we pass on as a form of information that moves into this new media economy. We allow ourselves, in a sense, to become aggregated, but also data collected, because the whole structure of this online world, this intercommunication industrial world, is to get us to reveal things. And the more we reveal, yes, the more accurate are the ads that come back at us, but also the more we're kind of bought and sold by advertisers themselves. All right. So this week, what I want you to do is I want you to talk about the ads that you think know you, which is a really weird feeling, that they know you better than ads would have on any television station would have known you in the past. I want you to think through these things about how ads are getting smarter, but also maybe more annoying. Think about also how ads are not as interruptive in terms of their techniques as they have in other media forms, but they still insinuate themselves into your everyday life. So I want you to think about how advertising online fits into your interpersonal structures and how it fits into what Spurgeon talks about, this participatory, interactive structure that online culture produces, and how that has changed the advertising industry more generally. So what are you drawn into, but also how's the advertising messages, how are they changed by this different environment? The final thing kind of connects to what we're going to talk about in the following week, which is a bit about branding. What do you do? Do you control how much information that's out there? Do you construct a very specific persona? And in that, what kinds of messages come back at you all the time by that way in which you've constructed yourself as a gaming sort of persona, or potentially someone who loves every kind of cosmetic product on the market? Anyway, get back to us, get back to the discussion board, and get talking about these things. It's a smart advertising world.